Hey y'all, this is Tyler Blake. My website's not live yet, but I'm using Tyler Blake art here on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram if you'd like to check those out. So today I just wanted to do a video on the differences between brush pens and technical pens. And I know that other folks have addressed this, but hopefully I can say this in a different way so it's not repetitive. The I first found out about brush pens from, I was watching Richard Friend's YouTube channel, and he's like an awesome comic book inker. He's kind of a big hero for me. I first became aware of him back in the 1990s when him and Travis Charest were working on the Wildcats comic book from Image under the Wildstorm label. Of course, Travis Charest was the pencilist, and he's like a huge influence on me artistically overall. And Richard Friend was doing the inks, and together they were awesome. So I've been paying attention to him for a long time. But anyway, I was watching a video on his channel, and he was talking about this thing called the Kuretake brush pen, and it actually has, I don't know if this will focus in, but it actually has nylon bristles just like a brush. And, it's not a felt tip marker. So you can do everything with this that you would do with a paintbrush, but you never have to clean it. And I don't, I carry this with me in my notebook at work. So, when I'm on my lunch break, if I want to bust this out, I don't have to carry around the brush and the ink and the cup and stuff to clean it and all that. So this is like super convenient. I did have a problem with this that I'll go ahead and talk about a little bit. Inside the cap, and this won't, there's not really a way to show this on camera, but there's a little piece up at the top here inside that slid down a little bit. So I was working with the tool one day, and when I went to put the cap back on, it actually bent the bristles, and I mean it bent it at like a right angle that way. So, I went to put the cap back on, and I was like, wow, the cap's fitting on really tight. And so I pulled it back off, and I saw the bristles all messed up, and it really bummed me out. Actually, I kind of freaked out, but, because I like the tool, but it's expensive, and that kind of hacks me off that happened. I ordered the sable brush replacement because I couldn't find the nylon bristles, and at the time, the sable brush was and it just replaces this front part of the pen, but it was back ordered, so I ended up getting the Pentel pocket brush to tide me over. The nylon bristle. This is actually the same nylon bristles that had bent, and they pretty much straightened themselves out over time, which is fine. I was able to get a nail or something and push that piece back up, and it hasn't happened again. But I want to put so I have the sable brush replacement now, and I want to put it in because I'm curious about it, but I'm a little bit paranoid that thing is gonna fall down again and mess those up. So that was a bit of a downer on that. The Pentel is a lot cheaper, and at first I didn't like it as much. It just didn't feel as comfortable in my hand, but I started using it a lot when this one was messed up, and now that I've used it probably more now, and so as you might imagine, I'm more comfortable with it. So I've as I got used to it, I really started to like the Pentel. It's whoopsie. Sorry about that. Get that out of there, hopefully. There's a replaceable cartridge in both of these, and then they each are proprietary, of course. But so these are refillable, and that's great. So you only have to buy the marker or the pen once, and then the ink cartridges are cheap. So I really like these. And then the technical pen. This is a Copic .1, and I think that a lot of people kind of gravitate towards these because when you're a kid, you just if you're doodling around with pens, it's probably a Bic pen. I know I did that a lot when I was little because that's what I had, and So it's kind of a natural transition, and also these, to me, these are less intimidating because you have a lot more control, but I would also say it's not as versatile. So what I mean, well, let's say with the Copic, the technical pen here, that's the line that it always produces. So, it doesn't matter, if I push harder, then I'm going to bend the nib and mess up the pen. But, so control is easy, and I just have to worry about how my lines flow. So, with the brush pen, it's, the good thing is also the bad thing, because I can vary the line weight based on how hard I push down. So that, that's why I say it's more versatile, but it also is what makes it easier to screw up with. So if I want to do a very fine line on something, and then I put a little bit too much pressure on it in a spot, then I just screw it up. Let's say I'm doing a portrait of a woman and I get it too dark around her jawline, and now she looks like Wolf Girl at the carnival, right? So, it takes a lot of practice to get comfortable with it. When I started getting comfortable with it, I did Inktober in October 2016 for the first time, and I started using these a lot, like every day, because that's the way that challenge works. And that was when I started to kind of break down my barrier with that. I was a black and white pencil guy forever, like 25 years, and it's fairly recently that I've been seriously pursuing pen and ink and color more. So anyway, and you can get interesting textures and things like that with your line weight variations on this. But for doing fine, like gradated shading, personally I prefer the technical pen because of the control. For me, at my skill level right now, it's just too easy to screw that up with the brush pen. But it kind of depends on what texture you want to create too. So to illustrate my point here, this is the same drawing. Actually, let me do this one first. This one is the original. I drew it in blue line, and then I inked it completely with the brush pen, so that there's no technical pen work here at all. And you can see where there's a lot of line weight variation, all over the place. And then this one, so after, I made a copy of that. I printed it out in light gray and inked it again only with the technical pen, except the solid black areas I did with not the brush pens I was talking about, but like a felt tip Copic brush marker, which is basically kind of like a Sharpie, really. But so to me, I don't think this is hideously ugly. I'm not ashamed of it. I wouldn't deny doing it, but it's a little flat. The ability to vary the line weight, I think, gives a lot more life to the illustration, because it's just livelier. Hopefully the difference shows up well on camera there, but there's also, like, for me, the ideal thing is to mix the two together. So I almost always do mix the two together now. Just on these, I did that just to illustrate my point there. But like I was talking about with the finely gradated shading, I did the line work on this one with the brush pen, and all of the shading is done with the technical pens. If I did that kind of shading with the technical pen, it would be like way darker and less nuanced. So for those like little subtle shifts, for me, the technical pen is where it's at. So, and this was a piece that I did for Inktober. And then this is another one from Inktober, the fruit bat there. And on this one, I did the line work and I did the fur on his face with the brush pen. All of this shading up here on the tree trunk. Well, I think I did a little bit of that with the brush pen, but most of that and all of the shading on his wings was done with the technical pen. And that's another one where, it would just, for me, at my current skill level, it'd be too easy to mess that up with a brush pen. So, I also, in this one, I used both on, and this one it's still not finished, but you can kind of see up in this area where I did some of the finer shading with the technical pen, but like all the work on the scales and like on his claw there, that's all brush. So for there's not really a reason for me to choose one or the other. Why not use both and take both of the strengths that way. And so what I've been doing with these lately is doing the inked drawings and then printing out copies of those so I can play with different color patterns. So obviously this is a different T-Rex, but I don't have it with me right now, but I did one of these green too. But after I did it, I was like, everybody, when I was a kid, I had a bunch of dinosaur books and they were all green or brown. So why not? I think I was on Pinterest and I saw somebody did like a Styracosaurus and they did like this crazy color pattern on it and it was really cool. I wish I had made a note of who that was and I would mention their name now. But so this was done with Copics and I got the color pattern from a modern day lizard called the Peninsular Rockagama. And if you haven't tried that, it's a lot of fun just to kind of play with the color patterns. It's art, it's subjective, you can really do what you want to. I understand, I was reading a book by William Stout, and he was saying that they're actually developing the technology to be able to tell from some of the fossil imprints where feather evidence has been preserved, that he was saying that they're actually going to be able to tell in some instances what skin color or color feathers and things like that they had, which is cool, but it's still fun to just be creative and imaginative too. And like with the whole feathered dinosaur thing, I grew up with scaled dinosaurs, and that's I will explore feathers at some point, but right now I'm having fun with my scaly dinosaurs. The raptors. I found a picture I was just doing a Google search for exotic reptiles, and I saw an albino snake with these bright red eyes, and I thought that would be cool as a raptor. So I've actually got another copy I made of this that I'm working on right now in color. I'll show that next week. So if anybody has suggestions about what they'd like to see, or if anybody has comments, advice, criticisms, please do share that. This is the second video that I've done, and I would welcome any suggestions on the direction of the channel. I mentioned earlier that I was a dedicated pencil guy forever, and that I've been exploring this. I also did a lot of pyrography, and I haven't done a lot of that since I started getting back into my artwork again, but I have done some, and I'll probably do some videos on that at some point here. So anyway, that looks like everything that I have. So y'all have a good week, and I will see you next Friday. Bye.